Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hari Om and greetings from Niagara Falls. If you're projecting a snake, and I'm highlighting the word projecting, that means that you're ignorant of the rope. Agreed? Now, if you want to stop projecting the snake and you want to know the rope, you learning how to cook quinoa well, is that going to help? You being someone who has a Twitter account with that blue check mark, is that going to help? All that is going to help is knowledge of the rope. Even knowledge of the snake. Suppose you know that snake thoroughly, but that's not a snake, that's a rope. Now let's internalize this. If I'm projecting that I'm afraid of death, I'm afraid of the unknown, I'm afraid of sorrow, this is what I project. Me pursuing pleasure, possession, position, me pursuing kama, artha, dharma, me pursuing, and you can keep on filling in the blanks, is not going to help me to know the self. If I want to know the self, then I need knowledge of the self. If we're still externalizing this, we may be thinking, so what if I don't know the self? I know the body, I know the mind, I know the intellect. So what if I don't know the self and the nature of the self? In the same way, so what if I don't know the rope? I see the snake, I move away from that snake. Big deal. These examples are incomparable. You can move away from that projected snake. You can do so much. You can turn the other way. But if you don't know the self, there will be fear of death, unknown sorrow, as I mentioned. There will be this perpetual incompleteness that will not go away, that will not end until I have knowledge of the self. Try not to treat these worldly examples as comparable to the example of the rope, of truth. This is only to elevate our minds. By following the wise, our unwise ways of projecting, of thinking, they become highlighted, they become isolated, and we're able to do something about them. We are fortunate, and I keep using that word. I hope you're not desensitized to it. We are fortunate that Sri Ramana, though not in body, but certainly in mind through his teachings, is guiding us. He is the wisest. And we are not the unwisest. I know those words may not be the proper declension, but you know what I mean. That we're wanting to be close to the wisest. And the more fortunate we feel, the more we'll follow all of this. When Raja Parikshita was born, when he came out of his mother's womb, he was constantly looking around, looking for the person, looking for the personality, looking for the presence who saved him while he was in his mother's womb. And that's why one of his names is Vishnu Vrata, the one who's always looking for Bhagavan Vishnu. This is where the name Parikshita came from, the one who's constantly engaged in pariksha. Pariksha means the one who is examining. So last week, you had a pariksha. You had an exam, and we laughed a lot. I hope we've learned a lot also, but we definitely laughed a lot. And the point of this pariksha, of why tests are given in this course, no manana, no manifestation. No manana, no manifestation. Manifestation means of what we're studying, that existence, that awareness, that joy. It is only through concentrated contemplation that what I'm studying becomes reality. These tests are encouraging us to engage in this reflection. And we've completed a portion of the fourth portion of Upadesha Sara. Right now we're into the section on Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga. And Sri Ramana has guided us from the mind to I. The mind is actually thoughts. The thoughts are actually the this thought and the I thought. The this thought and I thought is actually just the I thought. The I thought is actually just I. And now we shift texture. We shift technique on studying who we are. It's almost like Sri Ramana has got our attention. To go from the mind to I is so logical. He's right. So now he takes us into our inquiry in a different way. We're on Shloka 22. And this is a deep shloka with deep bhasha commentary. So wake up. Vigrahendriya pranadhitamaha. Vigrahendriya pranadhitamaha. Nahamekasat tajjadam hyasat. Nahamekasat tajjadam hyasat. Sri Ramana is asking us to look closely at who we think we are, closely at the projection, and to try to understand how is this projection even happening. So, Vigraha. When I say Vigraha, what do you think of? You think of idol. You think of a murti. Those are called Vigrahas. People collect Vigrahas when they go on yatras for their altar. So here Vigraha means body. Vigraha means body. And Sri Ramana is going to list all that we believe we are, and then he's going to say, Na aham. Now you know how he's thinking. If you were the body, every time you gave a part of your body away, whether you donated it, suppose there's an amputation, that means you would go away too. How many of you have donated your hair? Blood? Etc., etc. And every time you give a part of your body, you still feel the presence of I. And I've never had an amputation, but if I can extrapolate logically, if my hand is amputated, I would still feel the presence of I. If my arm was amputated, I would still feel the presence of I. It's for that I that I'm engaging in that amputation, correct? If I was the finger, if I was my arm, how would I allow that to be amputated then? The presence of I doesn't change despite the body changing. Then Sri Ramana brings the Indriyas. The Indriyas are that part of the body that inputs for us. Our hearing, our seeing. How many of you have realized that your hearing is becoming weaker? Some. Your seeing is becoming weaker. Your tasting is becoming weaker. We have to use more and more hot sauce, more and more pickle, more and more salt. Anyone? Our senses are becoming weaker. Our hearing and our seeing. Let's go with seeing primarily. So our senses are perishing, but the presence of I does not perish, correct? I may not hear as strongly, but me feeling that I, that's still as strong as long as I can remember. It's equally strong. Vigraha, Indriya, Prana. Prana is the physiological functions, the breathing, the digesting, and so on. And here we'll think of this more practically. The pranas are part of the Panchakosha. They're part of the 5 sheaths, correct? Sheath number 1, body. Sheath number 2, breath. 3, mind. 4, intellect. 5, ego. These are the Panchakosha. This is the projection. This is the layers. Here, prana is highlighted that we have these 5 layers and we keep on adding more layers on top of this to our breath. Let's say someone runs really fast. All of a sudden they identify as a runner. They start identifying as a fast runner, so more labels come on. Then they wear a special brand of clothing, a special brand of shoes. More layers come on. So when we talk about these 5 sheets, these 5 sheets are almost like, in Wheel of Fortune. Does anyone still watch Wheel of Fortune? Yeah, people still watch Wheel of Fortune? Okay. So in final Wheel of Fortune, I think you're given 5 or 6 letters, right? R, S, T, L, N, E, or something like that. And then you get to choose some. So these given letters are the 5 sheets. And then on top of that, we choose different layers, isn't it? I'm a handsome person. I'm a smart person. I'm a nerdy person. I'm an aggressive person. And then you just keep on going with that. So interpret prana like that. Okay? It's layers upon layers. And these layers are added. These layers are added. If it's added, that means it can be subtracted. And finally, Sri Ramana says, Dhi. Dhi here means intellect, but it also means mind and ego. Mind and ego also. Please write, please remember these 3 words. Individuality from identification. Individuality from identification. What does the ego do? What is the function of the ego? It identifies. Identifies with what? Everything. Starting with the intellect. That's why in our scriptures we study that the ego lives in the intellect, then the mind, then the breath, then the body. This identification is what changes the feeling or the presence of oneness into the feeling and presence of separation. That identification with this intellect, not all intellects. This body, not all bodies. And if there was no identification, there would be no individuality. Feeling that one is the body, the senses, the breath, the mind, intellect, ego is tamaha. Tamaha here means it is ignorance. It is darkness. It is unbecoming of oneself. And Sri Ramana is sharing, if I caught your attention earlier, from the mind to I, na aham, just like the mind and thoughts and particular thoughts are not you, here again he's saying, na aham, that I that we got to is none of these layers, is none of these equipments. I'll give you some Vedantic terminology to back this. Yaha, yat, drishta. Yaha yat drishta, saha tat bhinna. Saha tat bhinna. Whatever one sees, whatever one experiences, whatever one is aware of, one is different than that. One is separate from that. One is not limited by that. So if I take this, I am aware of the body and the senses and the breath and the mind, intellect, ego. I know all of this, which means I'm actually separate from the equipments. I feel I am the equipments and I'm separate from you, when the truth is, I am you, you are I, and we are separate from these equipments, from these conditionings. Guruji shared with us our names, Priya, Mary, Joseph, Victoria, Rajiv. You keep on going with these names. Our names indicate us. Our names are not us. How many of you have a business card? My business card is Chinmayadhara's card. So there's another identification. But that business card indicates Chinmayadhara. That business card is not Chinmayadhara. Now you have to extrapolate this name, this nama, then also includes rupa. This form indicates a locus, but this form is not the locus. Then you go to guna. Qualities indicate a presence, but those qualities are not the presence. This is a very deep message because it allows us to be free of protecting our name. Obviously, we should protect our name in terms of respect. Respecting our family, respecting people who have helped us. But to protect our name in the form of public perception and image, it's just a name. Sri Ramana says, Eka Sat. Existence is oneness. Oneness is existence. The implication is Existence is oneness. I'm part of that oneness. Oneness is existence. I am existence. This is the I. And opening this word sat some more, we only project a snake because what's there? The rope. If there was no rope there, would you project a snake? We only project that there's someone over there because of the post. If there's no post, it's just open air or open sky. Do you project that there's people there? You don't. Now, all of the macro, you can take the elements, you can take your living room, you can take your desk, all of the micro, all of these layers are only there because of the reality that is Sat, that which is ever present. Everyone's with me? Yes? Okay. Now we go to the deep part of the shloka. That was just the previews. Now the feature film comes in this last quarter. Okay? Tat jadam. Jada means inert. Jada means the opposite of existence, awareness, joy. The opposite of existence is non-existence. We'll call it that. Awareness is unconscious. And joy is sorrowful. Tat means all that is not Sat. All that is not I is of the nature of not being there, not being aware, and not being happy. Not being there, not being aware, not being happy. He, asat, indeed, this is not the truth. This is not you. Looking at this differently, Sri Ramana has said the is not you either. The mind, intellect, ego. The ego is asat, which means it's never present. So every experience of ours, the ego has not experienced it. And the spirit is beyond experience. So neither ego nor spirit is having any experience. Neither ego nor spirit is experiencing any sorrow. Because Sri Ramana is saying that jadam, the ego doesn't know because the ego can't know. Obviously the body doesn't know because the body can't know, but nor can the mind and intellect and ego. And the implication of this is we've never experienced sorrow. That's how to dismantle the reality of sorrow, of anxiety, of stress. Thinking about this more, if the ego is of the nature of inertness and the spirit is of the nature of life, can inertness and life have a relationship? Can light and dark have a relationship? Can sorrow and joy have a relationship? They can't. They're mutually exclusive. So either ego is there or spirit is there, but not both. Now we know just by faith there has to be the spirit. Now only one can be there, not both. If by faith there has to be a spirit, that means there is no ego. That means you're not the ego. That means there is no sorrow. They are of opposing qualities. There is an impossibility that is felt with such thinking. To wrap up, the less identifications we have, the less questions we have. The more I identify, the ego identifies with the intellect, with the mind, with the breath, with the body, with qualities and forms and names, with homes and workplaces. The more identifications there are, the more questions there are. The less identifications there are, the less questions there are, because one's faith is being proven then. That there is something beyond that identifier that is the ego. Let's chant this shloka together. Slowly, with a lot of relating ourselves to these words. Vigrahendriya pranadhitamaha nahameka sat tajjadam hyasat. Narayana.